Well, good morning. How are y'all today? Not so good out here today. We had a couple of our steers go around and mess up some of those fruit trees that we put in the ground about 8 months ago or so, and went through a hard freeze. And after that hard freeze, I figured, they were done for. The freeze we had snow, and I mean, we had snow this year, which is pretty rare for down here in South Texas. So, but that was in February as well. Anyway, so after the freeze and the snow and everything, I thought we'd lost these trees, but as soon as the sun came out, snow went away, we started seeing some life coming back to some of these fruit trees we had put in the ground. Also, we noticed that one of the apple trees that we had, one was doing good, one wasn't doing so good, but the one that was doing really well, the cows decided they wanted to start chomping on the leaves. So what they did is when they started doing that, they broke off some of the branches on that apple tree, and what happened after that was we figured, oh well, we would just go ahead and chop those off, but apparently after they broke over, they started budding. So we wanted to give them a sporting chance out here at Wackadoo, and also to have us a good apple tree out here. We also had them get after our pecan tree, which was a very young one, and they broke that one over. So we're going to look at those two, and we're going to try to fix them up the best we can. Again, no experts, but we're going to try to do the best we can out here, and appreciate you guys coming along. That's what we're going to be doing today. All right, we'll see you in a minute. Yeah, in a minute, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start working on some ways that we can mend these trees together. One of the ways I saw was them using a sock. So cutting up strips of socks, and that way it gives a little bit when you do tie the tree up, and when you put it around the branches, it actually gives the tree some breathing room. Also, if it rains, it's able to get some water that way, and as it grows, it doesn't restrict it. So that's what we're going to be doing here in a minute. All right, we're going to talk about it in just a second. All right. So I went to a local nursery, or it was a local feed store that sells, has a big nursery on the side of it. Talked to them a little bit. And also I did some research on YouTube. I did some research on different parts of the internet about fixing broken tree branches. So one of the things I came up with and started seeing a lot of was people were using things like t-shirts, and they were tying or using strips of t-shirts to tie off the branches that were broken. I've also seen where they were using socks. So today I'm going to try to use some socks that I'm going to cut up in some little strips, and I'm going to try to use that to tie up these branches and hopefully give this tree a winning shot of growing up to be a mature tree. So I got this old sock here, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to cut this thing up into some strips, and enough to where I can use to tie off this. I've never done this before, so I'm going to try the best that I can on making these strips here. So I'm going to start by cutting off this part here. This looks like a real nice part to cut here. It looks like it would make pretty good strips, so I'm going to start by cutting that sock right there. Wow, look at that. Wow, look at that. No show socks, that easy. Anyhow, so I'm going to cut this in half. Again, I'm no expert at this. This is the first time I've done this, but I want to catch it on video. And again, if you see something that could help out, or you have other tips that maybe you've used on broken tree limbs, and just let me know. Comment below, and I surely will talk about it on one of my other videos, and we'll have some discussions about it. So I'm going to cut out these little strips here into little bitty strips. I'm not going to sit here and let you watch this, or make you watch this whole cutting process, because this is going to be agonizing to sit there and just watch this. So I'll get back with you and show you all the different strips I've made, and then we'll be applying them to the tree. All right, appreciate you guys. All right, there you go. Some nice strips there made for us to help us mend those trees. Looks like we're going to have to trim off some of those pieces on this branch to be able to make it to where it'll fit back together again. So I'm hoping that we can get that done. So what I'm going to have to do is trim off some of these pieces right here that have been broken off. That way it comes back together. If you look at it, this tree has some new growth on it. So it really wants to grow here. And that's what we're going to try to do, is save it. That way it can grow. So I'm going to start cutting off a couple pieces of these pieces that are hanging up. And I'm just using a pair of wire cutters. Works pretty good. Not bad at all. Move this for a minute. Got some tape on it already, just from when it was first put out here. So we'll have to see how it can work, how we work that out. Hopefully it comes back together. We'll start wrapping our socks around it, those strips. Put this, we need to grab a couple of these sock strips here. Tying it together. And I don't want to hurt this other piece that's growing out, so try to avoid that if all possible. All right, there's one. Try to tie it as tight as you can. May look kind of funny, but it's keeping it together. Hopefully. Try to get as much coverage as I can on it. Get out of the way, little fella. Well, looks like it's going to hold up there. Now I just got to get this stake in here, give some support to this tree. Hopefully our old tree will decide he wants to go ahead and grow, and hopefully it mends well. I'm going to tie that off up here. You won't see this part, but I'm going to use a sock just to tie off this stake on this tree. Give it a little support. So I got that tree all patched up, but still, I think the cows are still going to be able to get to it. Right now I have free roaming cows. I have 2 steers that run around the place right now, and so I'm going to have to figure out how to keep the cows from getting to this tree. I do have a couple of these panels that I'm going to try to use and see if we can get something around that, some kind of barrier to keep them away from it. All right, though, I'm going to be working on that, trying to come up with something. right, we got this tree well protected, I believe. We got some cattle panel I put around it to make sure that they stay away from that hilling tree. Yeah, I know it looks a little overkill, but you got to remember what I have out here. Those steers I have are Texas Longhorns, so they are a tough breed, and so we have to really fortify some things out here just because of their breed. But anyway, looks like we're all done up here. I think it looks pretty good. So now we're hoping that the tree will be able to heal and have us a really nice fruitful pecan tree eventually. So what I'm finding is here, I have two limbs here on this tree that are broke. I have one that's on the top and one towards the bottom there. So what I'm noticing is when I start to try to repair this limb here, you have some pieces in here that may not allow it to come back together. I may have to trim some of that out right there, and that way I can bind it back together and then tie it off with those socks. And same, I'm looking at this one here, it's the same way. If you look at it, it's got some pieces here. As I try to put it back together, it may not allow it to mend back together there, so I might have to trim some of that back, I think. I don't have any trimmers, so I'm going to try and use some of these, they're like wire cutters, and maybe I can trim off just enough to get those tree branches back together. Also, I found some string here, this little nylon type string. I think what I'm going to try to do is use this to tie the broken branch to a more sturdier branch. So if you can see here, this is our apple tree that we were able to try to save. We repaired it, and we put on those little pieces of socks to wrap up those branches. Also got some string there to try and help out supporting those branches on that tree. It's a beautiful tree. Look at all those buds on it. So if you look, you can see where I did some repairs on these two limbs, and I hope that they work out the way we planned them to. Yeah, I had to string up a little string there, like again, to help support it. But it's got beautiful beautiful leaves on it. And it is, even when the branches were broken over, they had these beautiful leaves that started sprouting along with the little flowers on it. So I'm hoping that we have did this tree some good, given a little bit of a sporting chance out here. I'd love to be able to have some beautiful apples, delicious apples out here. That would be awesome. All right, I really appreciate you guys coming along, and hopefully you learned something. And if you have any tips out there that may help us out here in the farm, please share and comment on the bottom there. And again, if you really like it, go ahead and hit that like button. If you really like it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, I appreciate you guys coming out. Y'all have a good day now.